Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Show Us Your Insides. I'm Joel.
I'm Joshua.
And before we get started, we want to acknowledge that this is filmed and recorded on unceded and unsurrendered Wolastoq territory, and that's important to get started.
Certainly, yeah. We haven't, I don't know if we've done that yet, but we definitely wanted to make a point of doing that from now on.
Absolutely.
And we're coming to you today through the YouTube, or hopefully you're listening to us on CHSR FM in Fredericton, your campus/community radio station, 97.9 FM. They're always playing locals, and they can use your support.
Absolutely. So today we are joined by the man himself, Eddie Young, who is the founder of Roots and Soul Music, which that umbrella carries a lot of stuff underneath of it, Roots and Soul Music. I think over the years it's blossomed into many different things, including the Living Roots Music Festival, Jazz on Wolastoq Festival, some other stuff that you've done. You've promoted bands, you've booked tours, you've helped people get their start. You've also helped established artists keep going. You've done, so many other things, I'm sure, including, just being an all-around great supportive fella. And so, Eddie Young, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here,
yeah. So, I don't know why I always say it in the weirdest way, let's get started with the beginning.
I think it seems
weird
just
how I
right.
introduce it.
It's a thing now.
It's pretty obviously it's the beginning, right?
Right?
Yeah.
I know, but once I'm going to throw a wrench into the whole thing at some point and just be like, tell us how you plan to end everything.
Please do a Quentin Tarantino version of, do a backwards version.
Please, explain backwards your life from the end to the beginning. Benjamin Button, another movie reference. You age backwards. Okay, but yeah, so let's, Eddie, with all the things that you do, I think a lot of people in the audience, what inspires you? What got you started to do this, to, put in blood, sweat, tears, hours? And I'm sure that's true for you, blood, sweat, and tears, So, what got you started?
We try not to have too much blood, but...
that's probably a good idea.
Happens from time to time. But
you're on the north side now. Yes. You cannot be avoided. Just kidding. I love the north side.
Right in Hammertown.
yeah, exactly.
So what happened... people ask me this question all the time because, I'm not a musician. I didn't come from being in the scene. I didn't grow up in that scene other than being a huge music fan and a big fan of live music. But what happened is I was living here in Fredericton and I was just going and enjoying shows all the time. We're talking about very early 2000s, like 2001, even late 90s. And you could go out, it didn't matter who was playing at a venue. The place was full, people were enjoying it, bands were coming through. You'd seen Fredericton on their tour posters all the time, all that sort of stuff. Then in 2003, moved to Ontario for 6 years with my family, kind of expanded my family there a little bit. Returned home in 2009. Once I got settled back in the Fredericton area, kind of looking around and realized that the scene's not the same as what it used to be. There's not as many venues to start with. I'm going up to these shows and loving the performances and stuff like that, but there's just, maybe the room's at half capacity and whatnot. So there's just a overall different feel to it. And then, I got looking, in that time frame that I was away, YouTube, we're on YouTube, that kind of exploded at that time.
Yeah.
Also Facebook and social media all exploded around that time. So keeping an eye on that and saying, geez, all these acts that are coming through are not stopping here in Fredericton or maybe not even New Brunswick. And then I noticed a lot of them are there was the bars that was still going, and you could put a punk band on or you could put a rock and roll band on and they could have a show, but there was nothing for that singer-songwriter, folky music and stuff like that. So I found that was missing, and I was really at that time getting into that the storytelling and the singer-songwriter stuff. So at that point, me and my family got settled in a home, and we started doing house shows and inviting these people into the house. And we did that for a year until it was apparent that we couldn't do that anymore. So then found another venue, which was Grimross, as both of you guys have played on that stage up there, and was there for 8 years hosting shows there.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the grassroots of it, and kind of expanded since then.
Yeah,
that's all. I remember I've been watching, from a distance and seeing how you've built this up over the years. And full disclosure, Joel and I both we've been lucky enough to get shows through you, countless. You've given us plenty of opportunities to grow, and we can't thank you enough.
I believe I put Joel's band on stage for the first time.
I was going to say,
matched up with with your band.
Their
Honey
first
Guy.
gig was
show.
with us, and that's when
During
we became,
COVID.
when we became friends.
Yeah.
I was I just had a connection with Joel
We did.
right away, honestly, and all the guys were great.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. All of the friendships and stuff that have come out of these just connections and opportunities that you've given myself and Joel. I don't mean to speak for you, and I know there's countless others that have the same story or same connection to you. Not just from New Brunswick. I mean,
all over.
I've made great friends from Ontario and Alberta through you bringing them here. So
Likewise, that's a huge part of it. As you guys are bands in the local scene. I'm promoter. I know lots of venue owners, promoters. Nobody's getting rich at this. So my thought on it is I need to be able to enjoy what I'm doing too, because I'm not that promoter that books a show and you're not going to see me at the show. I'm there. I'm hosting it. I'm in the crowd. I'm encouraging. I'm joining in every time. So I have to be able to enjoy it. Sometimes I'm doing sound. Depends on the venue. So
I truly don't know how you would I see you at all these, and I think there's more than one of you because you just seem to be always at every show you're putting on. You try to make at least an appearance.
I do,
which is amazing.
Honestly,
a lot of people don't do that.
I think a local show that I've put on, I count on one hand, probably less than one hand, that I haven't been at physically.
Wow.
That I've had to pull in. So, and then I really try to do that. So I try to make sure if I can't be there, then I have a certain. I don't want to say standards because I don't like that word.
No, you have
I have a certain thought or a certain feel to how I think that show should be, and I like to be there to make sure that happens. I guess is a weird way to put it.
You care about it. You care.
I do.
You're invested and you care.
I do.
And
I'm invested in it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It definitely, from a musician standpoint, it means a lot to see, not just see the promoter kind of pop his head in for a minute, but be there, ask how's it going, or even so many times you've been in the audience singing along to the lyrics and stuff like that. Clearly, you're somebody who just really, really loves music. Have you always loved music that much?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I grew up in small town Harvey, just outside of Fredericton, so my exposure to different music was limited. But my mother, a lot of it comes from my mother because she was a big music fan. So we would kind of vibe on Paul Simon.
Nice.
Right on.
Which was a big one for her. Elton John. Things like that, your normal stuff from back then. And then kind of Much Music come on the scene, and you kind of get into the videos, and then of course the late '80s and stuff. You get into the hair metal, and I've went through all those facets. So, but it wasn't until moving to St. Andrews for college and meeting a couple people in particular that were actually from St. John, and they had their finger in the music scene a little bit, and then got into some more. I call it interesting music because if people ask me what I like, it's everything that I really like is kind of one side or the other of the straight and narrow. I guess it's just a little bit
fringy,
bit off.
Same.
Not that I don't relate to some of that other stuff as well, but that just seems to be where I gravitate to. Which might be a little bit strange because I'm not a musician, but it just maybe it's because I listen to so much music, it needs to be a little bit off.
I think that's it too. I know when I was growing up, I was a huge classic rock fan, and I loved it. But once you listen to so much of that, you do get a little more adventurous, I think. And that just comes with age, I think, too. And you I started listening to jazz. I'm like, hey, you know what? I kind of like this, or bluegrass, or whatever. So it's interesting to hear you say that. That's something that you developed over time as well, because you have such an eclectic and diverse roster of musicians that you bring through the scene now. It's pretty amazing.
And that's on purpose.
For sure.
Again, I need to keep it interesting for myself. Some venues, some places, this works there, but it doesn't work over here, and vice versa. So I need to be able to keep that. Being able to work with everybody, which I like that as well.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Talking about the start of things, that was one of the big things. I also in the music scene, I found there was some cliques.
Certainly.
So you had this genre here, this genre here, this genre here, and there was this group of people were over here and here. So my whole thing is I really wanted to try to kind of bridge that a little bit and make it an overall music scene. I'd say we're there to a certain extent. I do think there's still some cliques, but I do think there's some multiple people in each clique that kind of bridge over at this point, which I think is important, especially where we're in a small market.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, and maybe paint a little picture for people if you're listening and you don't know about Living Roots, which is I guess, has been the primary festival that you've done, although you have started doing the Jazz on Wolastoq Festival. Was it in its second or third year?
We just had second year.
Second year, yeah. And Living Roots has been
We just had our ninth year.
ninth year. Okay. Well, this is going to be a big one, the next one.
Yes, it is.
The 10 years. So I guess I want to paint a little picture for the audience to know, like, what is it, what kind of festival is Eddie putting on here? And really, and you're saying, you know, you really like to, some of the cliques, genre cliques or whatever they are, the Living Roots really feels like a festival that's grown from the roots up, which makes sense. The roots of just why people play music, it feels very community oriented.
Very much.
And I feel like part of what maybe you get a kick out of is like putting bands together that maybe wouldn't always be on the docket.
Sure.
The lineup is maybe a better word. And then in that way, I think, you know, music being an expression, an art that we try to express ourselves through, that allowing, you know, people from different perspectives to intermingle, and that's part of what I think makes the festival really cool, is that, like, you have people talking to each other and people joining in the conversation of, you know, this genre, and it just feels very welcoming, very warm, and also you give a lot of opportunity to artists who, you know, maybe haven't been a part of a festival. And so when you're, you know, if you're listening, that's kind of the heart of that Living Roots Festival that Eddie puts on. So it's a really special thing, I think.
Yeah. That's very well said, actually.
Yeah.
I probably didn't go into it with a lot of those intentions.
Okay.
But it became apparent very quickly that that's what was happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm working with a lot of, we'll say, emerging artists or even beginning artists, and I love giving them that opportunity to play on stage. Also, to play, not just to play on, I don't know, some side stage somewhere that no one's going to be in. I want to put them on a bill with another act
that's great.
That they can vibe with.
Yeah.
And it's happened multiple times where that band ended up being friends with the band that they opened for, and even doing some collaborations. And a couple years down the road, you hear recordings come out, and they're collaborating on those.
Totally,
and I do love that.
Yeah.
And you did mention about the multi-genre bills. It's one of my favorite. When it works, it's one of my favorite things in the world to have.
Yeah.
I don't know, a singer-songwriter, a jazz band, and a rock and roll band on the same bill. I really dig that. I've attended some big festivals like in the States and stuff like that, and those are the ones that I tend to really, really enjoy, where I'm watching this jazz band and the next band coming up is a bluegrass band or a rock and roll band. You know what I mean? And it's just
variety.
a variety.
Yeah. Like life. Yeah.
Exactly.
Variety is the spice of life.
Oh, thank you, Josh. Yeah.
No,
You made that up right now, didn't you,
I
Josh?
just made that up. No,
That's amazing.
No, I love that too. I love that. You know, you give a stage for people up and coming, because like you said, you were saying earlier, there wasn't a lot of, it seemed, quite as many venues. And I feel like about the time that, you know, you were starting your, sorry, I'm getting away. You were starting your house shows. Like I think I started trying to do my own solo stuff, and there wasn't a lot of opportunities. There wasn't a lot of stages. It was pretty tricky getting gigs unless you were a little more established, or a band, like you said. Right. So I think, you've created a lot of opportunities for people like that, and that's awesome to see, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a real balance here in Fredericton as far as, like, I don't know what the number is, but I think there's a balance, a number of venues, because we have at some points had too many as well. And I just find there was just so much stuff going on at the same time. And I run into the same thing. It's a constant battle with the festivals, having too much stuff happening at the exact same time. There's only so many people that are going out and seeing live music that can fill those spaces. So I think right now, as far as the number of venues, I think we're pretty good right now. It's just a matter of getting people to get out to some other places and things like that. So.
Yeah, and we should talk about that, like from the perspective of a promoter, and we're musicians, like, you know, what could people do to support the scene? I don't know. We'll get into that in a minute. I wanted we specifically, if you haven't seen this interview, go check it out. We talked to Kelsey about Trash Oyster. Yeah. And so speaking of some of the stuff, like, they were very vocal about how at the show you kind of got up and said, by the way, you guys aren't just going to be a cover band. You're going to start, like, I don't know how you put it.
This is a band now.
This is a band now. Like, you were kind of part of the spark that ignited. That must, for them, I think, is such a cool thing to encouragement goes such a long way with artists, right? Like, without that encouragement, sometimes one show happens and they go, that went terribly. I'm never doing this again. And then for someone like yourself to be like, okay, when can I book you next? And not only that, but to say to a cover band, like, okay, so start writing some originals, get out there. And you've booked Trash Oyster on, I think, now all over,
multiple
right?
times, yeah.
And so,
Great band.
Yeah, they have an EP now.
Yes.
It's really cool to see their show right now. They do a set with it's mostly grunge covers.
yeah,
But they have a handful of their own songs, and they fit very well in the set. You wouldn't, if you didn't know all the songs were covers, you would just think this was the band.
Totally.
Yeah.
And we're happy about the kind of a grunge resurgence as well.
Yeah,
because
absolutely. These are young people.
Yeah.
These are young people playing songs from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they weren't alive then.
Yeah.
I think Ilse just turned 31,
I think that's
32,
pretty
something like that.
amazing,
Like it's crazy.
it is.
But that was really cool. You mentioned that time in particular. I do the monthly tribute shows. And,
Yes.
and they act as so this part of the, going back to Living Roots a little bit. No funding. So what I decided to do was put tribute shows on once a month, with part of that money going to fund the festival.
Yeah.
So, which the festival is mostly original music. So it's kind of a neat concept where we're doing covers and
That is, yeah.
and tributes to fund original music.
Yeah.
But this one worked out where they had this core band and they needed a drummer. And I suggested, you know what? I had Kelly Baker. She played on a couple other tribute shows, and she was great. I said, reach out to Kelly, and they did right away, and she was into it.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So that was
another fantastic human. These guys were all friends of mine individually, and I put these guys together, and they played this 45-minute set, and now they've been a band for 2 or 3 years, making music together. It's that's a real feel good.
I would imagine it would be, yeah. And artists, like I said, not all artists, but I can at least speak for myself, that needing sometimes that push to have the confidence to do something and to keep doing that. So that's huge.
For sure.
What would you say, like, I guess you probably get asked this a lot, but like artists who are out there who haven't, from a promoter, from someone who gives a lot of artists their kind of first, what's your advice? Like, just get out there and do it, or?
Yep, do it. So if you're just starting, my biggest advice would be just, at first, you want to get out and you want to do the reps. Play all the shows. If you're in the position that you don't have to worry too much about the financial side of it, that's even better while you get going. One of the things that we're in I don't even know, it might even translate if you go to somewhere like Toronto or something too. But I always say, if you want to be in the music scene, be in the music scene. So even if you're not playing that particular night, but there's a band on stage somewhere that you really want, you could see yourselves opening for and making those strides, go to that show.
Yeah.
Go show your face. Go stand in front of the stage. Make sure that they know who you are. Talk to them afterwards. Introduce yourself. Let them know your intentions. Let them know what you're doing. I think that goes a long way because, as you guys see here in Fredericton, there's multiple people that play in multiple different bands or know this person. Oh, you should talk to this person. Oh, these guys are working on this and they're looking for a bass player. Things like that. And that's how things happen. So make sure you just get out and support it in any way. Like, even if you're paying your $10 cover and you're going and standing at the stage, that's perfectly fine. Just show your face, show the encouragement. I can encourage people, yes, but the audience and stuff needs to encourage.
Well, and the bands love to hear that from people that are really there listening. I know personally, I could have in my opinion, a tanked show, and I'm like, man, and then somebody's like, hey, I really like that, and I'm like, man, that made it worth it, right? So, also, I wanted to ask you, I love that being in the scene, right? What do you suggest for people that have maybe some difficult barriers? Because I know for me, let's say there's family medical issues, or then or you got one income coming in. Or you maybe live a little bit outside the city. There's been times when I had a lot of factors and I felt like, man, I wish I could be more involved, but it's hard to do that right now. Like, what are ways people could do that? I know there's social media. You could share and you know what I mean? Different things like that, but
that's a great question because it is a thing that's happening right now.
A lot of broke people around,
There is. Life happens, and life is super expensive right now, and I totally get that as a promoter. And talking to the other venues and stuff in the city, everybody sees it and they understand that as well. We're trying to figure out some ways to make that work for everybody.
Yeah.
That being said, let your venues and people know your thoughts on that too. What would help for you to be able to get out and do that? But you did mention about like financial is a big part of it. Me myself, and I know if you reach out to some of the other people, they would do the same. If there's a show you really need to go see, you really want to go see it, you just don't have that $10 for the cover, reach out to me. I'll put you on the door. I'll give you some sort of a little. Maybe you can hang up a few posters for me or something like that. I'm really big on the barter system.
That's awesome.
Things like that. And like, if you want to be at that show, I'll make sure you're at that show one way or another.
That's huge.
I've done things before where we've done sponsorship for people to do things and different things like that. I want you to be there. The other thing I think we need to do as an overall thing is I've tried to do it, and some other people have tried to do it. Some all ages shows in Fredericton again.
I love the all ages shows. Yeah,
I do as well, and I think it's super important.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily translating to a whole lot of people going out to them, because I think people. There's a stigma between an all ages show that it's just these kids banging around in the garage kind of thing, and it's not necessarily for the 30-year-old. Just because it's an all ages show doesn't mean it's only for underage people.
That's my first impression. Is it's like that's where I'm going as a teenager to get drunk and listen to music.
Exactly.
Not saying you should do that, but that's probably what I would have thought.
There are some fantastic underage bands right now, like really, really good, and we need to be able to give them a spot to play and hone their craft and all that sort of stuff.
And Hanson Road, like Flower Shop.
Yep.
Like I love that because my daughters can come to that.
Yep.
And I have brought them a few times because that's all an obstacle too, right? Yep. Maybe you got the kids for the night and you know, you got to do what you got to do, but I could bring them to that. And it's also fostering like a love of live music in them at an early age.
100%.
So I mean, maybe you're not getting as many people out or as much money, but you're growing future fans as well, I think.
Absolutely. That's a big part of it. Yeah, you mentioned Hanson Road. I love the venue as well. It's become a really cool spot. Yeah. They're really cool people to work with there, but I really enjoy the alternative venue kind of feel. The early shows, they're usually 6 till 8. Yeah. So like you said, me being a family guy as well, I got 4 kids, so they come along. So a lot of times you'll see my daughter working the door, or you'll see my son hanging around there. Also, the venue is really encouraging that way too. They have a little baby that'll be around there. The dog, the Henderson is wonderful. Yeah, hanging around, just a really cool feel. Grab a coffee, you go in for the show, and absolutely. And you can really hear songs and stories in there as well. Yeah. So,
what's through your years got me thinking of like, what's a moment where you would reflect on and say. Either you saw maybe an artist all of a sudden achieve something or get to a place where you felt like super proud and that you were like, yeah, that's like what can happen when an artist is supported. Have you had like a moment like that?
Yeah, actually it's kind of just come up not pretty recently. I'll tell you a little bit of story. And I mean, you guys know Colin. It's not directly related to Colin, but he was part of it. So I'm going back to Folly Fest 8 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. Yeah. And they were doing this thing where they had an open mic kind of thing in the campground, and I don't know, it was a little bit of a competition thing, but whoever won it got to play a set on I think it was like the Sunday morning on one of the stages. So anyway, Colin was part of it, and Kylie Fox was part of it. There was a few other ones. I forget all of them, but anyway, it come down to it, and they gave it to both Colin and Kylie. Yeah, won it. So then they put them on that stage in the morning, and they kind of split the set, and they did each own thing. Right then and there, I didn't know Kylie at the time, but her songs were super, super quirky, super fun. I could really dig it, and I booked her to open a show, I think probably right there, if not shortly after Folly Fest. And I had her open for the Galpines up at Grimross, and killed that set. She did a full set, and then I started working with Kylie a lot more. Booked her a few Ontario tours, bunch of shows, opening for some pretty cool acts, things like that. And then she kind of just took it on her own, and like her songwriting and her performance, and she's just really, I'd say, perfected that. Yeah.
She to the point now exponentially. It seems every year.
Yes, to the point now she has this fantastic band behind her. Yeah. And I was sitting there. She was playing Officer Squared, opening up the stage down there at Canada Day, the new stage, and I was standing there next to her parents, who are fantastic humans as well. So I've done lots of things with them. And I was standing there watching this, and I turned to them. I said, she is really turning into a superstar. Like, she has this fantastic band behind her, but it is so obvious that she's still the star and still the boss in front of that stage.
Yeah.
And yeah, that does even just talking about it here makes me feel it.
Yeah.
And I can say I was a big part of that.
Yeah.
And she'll tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And her and her partner.
I was gonna say
Ryan,
too, Ryan. Yeah.
Who again one of my best friends.
Yeah.
But they kind of got together at Living Roots one year, and it was,
Yeah.
I remember when they were just kind of feeling each other out a little bit, and I was like, yeah, this guy's good, and yes, yeah, Cody's awesome, you guys should do this, and now they're engaged and living together and playing together, all that sort of stuff. So
It's got to be cool to see that, see the connections that have evolved from that sort of thing.
that is my favorite thing.
Me too.
My favorite thing.
I've got some of my best friends in life as an adult, and I still have great friends from when I was younger as well, but through the music scene, and and we're not just trying to pour it on you, but like, through you and through some of my other great friends who have introduced me to other people through, music collaborations and whatnot. Like, I've made some of the best friendships of my life with people that I feel like I have a lot in common with, because we're in a similar type of situation. So yeah, you must feel like a proud parent at times.
Yeah.
To see the way things have come over the past 10 years. And
Montgomery Street Band would be another example.
Oh.
Of that. And I always say, like, these are my kids. Like,
Yeah.
they were like 20 years old when I was starting with them. And I mean, they're doing their own
an amazing
thing now.
band. If you haven't seen them, check them out. Like, such a good bluegrass
So I
band,
worked with them and all their different, they had other side bands and all that. We worked with them all together, and they've all collaborated. They're just doing some really cool things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it takes, I think I said it already, but for artists, you're an artist, by the way. Like, I think sometimes you're kind of like, I don't know how to play. One, you've performed. You've performed a couple times.
Yeah, that's right.
Was it the Tom Waits?
Frank Zappa, did you do?
Both.
Tom Waits, yeah.
Both.
So if Eddie's doing that again, you got to catch this. So you keep your eyes and ears open for
the
that.
Zappa should happen the first week of every December. At this point.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
But I'm hearing you talk about, not to, every person is not necessarily like a paint color for a canvas, but in some ways, someone who has the ability to see potential, and also not just see potential, but really be excited to, clearly you were emotional talking about Kylie's growth, because that ability to go along with somebody on their journey to grow, on their journey, and to see areas and to kind of encourage, like, that's a huge asset in the community. But also that takes its own level of creativity to kind of be out there and see those things and kind of see where someone could fit. Like, you're so good at that, kind of being like, hey, maybe if you talk to this person, or you would fit here, or this person's looking for, like,
matching,
you're coordinating.
matching bands up for gigs, like you said. I thought you were great at picking band, because our band is a little bit, we don't fall in a specific genre, right? Where we get rock, but we got other stuff. You're always great at finding bands that are similar, and it works, right? So
And it works, yeah.
Yeah, so that's so it is something that I've kind of battled with over the times, and people have had like, oh, do you play? No, I don't. I can't play a chord. I really can't. And I said, I'm not the artistic guy. I'm not the creator. But, and I forget who it was. It may have even been Stephen Lewis. But they said something to me, and I said, yes, you are. You take these 70 acts at Living Roots, and you're creating a lineup and putting them in an order and organizing. You're painting that picture.
Exactly.
And if it's not if it's not 70 acts, maybe it's 2 or 3 acts on a bill, and you're putting that, making that flow properly and making it work.
There's art to that, absolutely.
And they say that's your creative output there. So I can get behind that.
Cool.
I would agree. Is it Rick Rubin? Doesn't play an instrument either.
Yeah.
That's a very musical guy.
Yeah.
He wouldn't consider himself an artist or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Like, some of the most creative people don't see themselves as creative because their creativity doesn't fit either on a canvas or on a musical timeline. It doesn't mean you're not creative. It doesn't mean you're, like, inspiring people by finding the puzzle pieces of, like, what artist fits with what, or what band fits with what at what time. All that stuff is creative.
And people always say to me, like, you have such a great ear, and I can agree with that. I can hear something early on and picture it or hear it, as what it's going to be or what it should be.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it is, where I'm not involved with a particular band, a particular genre, anything like that. I can sit back and I can take it all in and then kind of put it together where it belongs, I guess. Like I can listen to Honeygut, I can listen to Run the River and say, okay, I can see this lineup.
Yeah.
And I'll do it all the time. I'll sit there in the audience and I'll say, you know what would be a great lineup is boom boom in my head, right? Like,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah, these guys should play with so and so I'm gonna make that happen.
Yeah,
So.
I love that. So I don't know, I'll just talk about it and you let me know like how much you want to talk about this, but I know like mental health for you is something that plays into, for me, okay, I'll start by saying, not that I want to talk about myself, but you know, creativity, writing music, whatever it is kind of a therapy. Is booking shows, is running festivals, is that a bit of a kind of a way, an outlet for you, a way to kind of deal with some stuff?
Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think before I even knew that it was a creative avenue for me, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's where that holds its place for me, I guess, is it occupies me with something that I feel passionate about and something that I feel is a good thing, helping other people. And whether it's music, whether it's on my career side of things where I'm teaching and training people, I really, really enjoy that as well.
Yeah.
So as we've been talking about, like I love seeing the progression of young people and seeing them move on. That's whether it's in music, whether it's in my children or just someone in general in life. If I can give somebody some advice that helps them along the way, that's what does it for me. And that's what can kind of relieve my stresses of every day and all that sort of stuff. We've talked lots about this.
Yeah.
I know that there's way more people that struggle harder than I do with mental health, but I do have my ups and downs that way. I've learned some tools. When I was younger, I masked it with a lot of stuff, as most people do as
Certainly.
well. But I've kind of learned about myself and how to handle all that sort of stuff now.
Yeah, I think for those who, not that we're like an advice podcast or anything, but getting out and kind of working with other people and seeing them succeed too and being a part of their success, man, that's a pretty great way to kind of turn if you have negative thoughts and things like that, it starts to help add some positivity to all of it. So
I really come to realizing it during COVID, when we were out and we couldn't get out and see people. That was the worst for me, is when I deal with some anxieties. But a lot of people their anxieties is they can't go out in the public,
right?
And they can't hang out. But mine was vice versa. It was way worse when I was
have to get out.
Yeah, it was way worse when I was home. I just wanted to go out into a sweaty bar and hug my friends. All that sort of stuff.
I was there too.
That's what I needed.
And I appreciate my time to myself, but you really miss that social connection.
That balance.
You need that as humans, I think. Right?
To the point where recently, I've started a mental health men's group.
Yeah, thanks
we're
for
meeting
bringing
every
that up.
Tuesdays, and because I feel like there's a lot of people that are sitting in their home, maybe they don't have anybody else that they feel that they can talk to. Well, we've set up this place, and you can come every Tuesday evening, no matter what, and no registration, no nothing. You can just come listen, you can come talk, whatever you want to do.
That's amazing.
So I think, and there's a few people that come every single week.
Yeah,
and I think it's a helpful thing.
Absolutely, it is.
Solidarity, absolutely, and like you said, it's free. Mental health, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic, is very poor in Canada and especially in this province.
Yeah,
a lot of people just can't afford to get help.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of barriers.
Oh, there's a ton. Yeah.
So I started the group because I was looking for a group like that and found that it did not exist without having to go through a bunch of prerequisites, registrate for this, and maybe it's a month and a half before you can actually get.
Yeah.
No, maybe you're going through a rough time right now, Josh, and I need something this week. Exactly. You can do that. You can just drop in.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
I'll put links on the video on YouTube. I'll put a Facebook link to that group. So if you're listening and you could use that if you're on CHSR, go find us on YouTube under Show Us Your Insides.
Yeah.
So you can find the link. So many cool things. I want to talk a little bit about, we talked already a little bit about it, the music scene in general and like how people can support. Because I know you're a big advocate and wanting to obviously see it grow and continuing to do what you do. What do we need to do as a community? Because like we talked about, mental health isn't great. People don't have a lot of money, but music is so important. And yes, there are those people who I know more and more of them who have a hard time leaving their house.
Yep.
Maybe live streams, like bringing stuff into their home is an option. But I'm like you, where I'm anxious until I get to the show. And then I'm so much less, I'm like, get me to the show so I can like not feel so anxious. But like, what kinds of things do you think we need to do to make sure that, bands are getting seen and that people are able to come out to shows?
Yeah, so it is tough. I talked about it earlier about finding ways to get people out to the shows if they want to come and can't come.
Yes.
It used to be not all that long ago. Social media was great for getting the word out to see what was happening, and I'm hearing it more and more and more often after the fact that an event has happened that people did not know that
they don't know about it.
was
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
And that's social media. Their algorithms are kind of squishing everything without putting a whole bunch of money behind the. I mean, I don't know. We can get a little bit real here.
Absolutely.
So I use I'm at the age where I use Facebook all the time,
Yeah.
and it's still. I wish I didn't have to.
Yeah.
But it seems like you don't have an event unless you have a Facebook event.
Right.
Right. So that's still a thing. But getting that out there to reach people that are not in your little circle is really, really tough.
Well, that's it. Social media is very much an echo chamber at times.
Yes, they have
anything, right?
It is
opinions, whatever. It's going to people that already have a like mind, already know you're playing a show, probably.
Right. They already know about this, right?
Yeah.
Right. And yes, you can boost and stuff like that, but you can't put $20 on something and boost it and it reach people. You have to put
It has to be a lot.
money
And for over
in it.
time too, right? Like,
What are you going to put $100 into a show that you're getting paid $100?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And that was my point. You can spend way more on that side of things, and nobody involved with that show is making that much money to come back to.
Nobody's making money. Let's just be clear. Eddie's not making any money. Nobody, and we're all
Nobody's
doing
making
it for love. And I
No.
mean, when I say no money, it's like
Yeah.
you can count on one hand people that are supporting themselves with music around here.
Yeah, and they have to hustle
And that's-
all the time.
And other avenues.
That's what I
they're
mean.
not just playing music.
No,
they're,
it's like
they're
teaching
doing,
music, like doing sponsorship deals, doing
Yeah.
everything. You got to
Yeah.
be juggling so many different things. And then I think, unfortunately, for those artists, it does take away from their ability to really like hone that one part of their art that maybe they'd love to focus on. Yeah. But, it is what it is. And I definitely props to those people who are out there hustling and using music as their career, because I so admire that.
Yeah, I still have a full-time job. I mean, to be honest with you, if I was to walk away from a show with a $50 bill,
You'd be like, ka-ching, ka-ching, baby.
That's a successful show for me. And that being said, I've put X amount of dollars into booking that show.
Exactly.
I've done normally I've done the graphics myself, because I would love to be able to hire a graphic designer and support them to be able to do that.
Yeah. I'm happy to help anytime. I love doing it. I'm not amazing at it, but I love to do it.
Me neither. So we make do, right?
Yeah.
So there's just not the money to do that, right? And then let alone promoting something and putting some money behind advertising. It's just not there.
Yeah.
It's just a commercial radio. I mean, it's like crazy expensive to
Commercial
to
radio
do anything
is,
on there.
Well, commercial, like you said, it's CHSR, in my opinion, is one of the last real radio stations.
Absolutely.
And that's not an insult, because I know people that work in it, and a lot of it's a set playlist nowadays, right? So you're missing that big chunk of community.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, that was like a lifeline to your community.
Absolutely.
In a way. Even calling in for a Wendy's coupon.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
At least you were communicating via a medium to somebody.
Yeah.
Right now it's very.
You listen.
You don't see the.
You listen to that radio station here in Fredericton, and it's the same set list of that particular company in Toronto, in Calgary, in whatever they're playing those same thing,
right.
and not necessarily supporting the local scene in that city.
That's probably like I was going to mention about. So back in if you're listening to this and you're under a certain age, I'm sorry, but back in the
Thank you. First of all,
hopefully you caught a bit of that, the Much Music days. I was going to say, I remember in the Much Music days, so people would so this is how you promoted a show. People would put posters up on the telephone poles. That's one way. You'd see posters at the places you frequented. Okay, next month this band's coming. Yeah. Your friends would talk about it. Maybe early social media was kind of, there'd be a little bit of that. But generally speaking, if a band was kind of headlining that came they had a video on Much Music. Oh, I want to go see, so there'd be that kind of hype that would create.
Yeah.
Or even just posters. It seemed like the hype was easier to create.
Remember the Exclaim magazines?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's where I got a lot of my stuff. You would flip through that. Okay, this show's coming, this show's coming, this show's. And even when I lived in Toronto for the year. It wasn't Exclaim, but there was something else that they had going on there. And every week you would get, these are the shows coming up. And it was like a newspaper.
Yes.
With advertisements for each
Very
show.
cool.
And that's how you would know what was where. And
it was
circle it, I'm going to the show.
I think it's overwhelming for people now. I don't know how many emails per day or per week anyway of new apps that exist to like tell you when bands are coming, or like a new app that you can sign up for that my band can sign up for that gives me like a platform to show and it's like there's so much that it's like I don't know what to do with any of it.
But why?
It's overwhelming.
Should I do this?
Yeah. And you never know. I mean, everybody, again, going back to the financial thing, nobody has a lot of money. So if I have this much money to spend on something like that, where do I put it that I'm going to get enough return?
Some kind of return, yeah.
It's exhausting too.
That's advertising. For me at the festivals, I am so torn all the time on where
to put
my little bit of advertising money. Where am I going to put that people are going to respond to it?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know. I don't know what that answer is.
Yeah, it's something I think about a lot. How do you?
So that being said, going back to the original question of like, what do we do? Like, it's us. It's individuals. Caring about the music scene, caring about an act, caring about a venue. And you know what? You go somewhere for the first time. We mentioned Hanson Road. Go there for the first time and you love your experience. Next time, take a buddy with you.
People
take somebody with you sometime. And that's really how I think we really have to go back a little bit that way as far as advertising goes. And isn't that the most genuine
word of mouth is still very important.
And genuine way of doing that as well. I'm to the point where, and I've done it a couple times, is like printing off little flyers, little hand flyers, and going on the street the day of the show. Put it in people's hands. Hey, come to the show. Come to so-and-so's releasing an album, whatever. Come here. And maybe you can get an extra 5 people in the door. You know what I mean?
And an extra 5 people is a big deal.
That's a double attendance for me.
That's my $50, right?
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And often, like you said, when people don't know about it, they don't know. So they can't go to a show they didn't know about.
There's another big thing that we haven't talked about here, which is in the same realm of like people going out and supporting the music, yes. But you go out and you're also supporting that venue.
Yeah,
true.
Sure,
right? Even if you're not drinking, I'm not right now, but you can go out and pretty much all venues have non-alcoholic options and very good non-alcoholic options that you can go and purchase something to help support that venue to be able to keep doing things, pay their sound person, pay their staff, the electricity bills, all that sort of stuff. So it is a big part of it too, because I do worry about some spots that there's not enough people there there's some spots right now. I'm like, how are they keeping the door open? How's the door still open?
And the musicians, I mean, they deserve to be paid as well, right? But everyone deserves to be compensated for their hard work. But how is there's almost no money for that, Yeah.
It's really weird because you put a bill together. So here's kind of an example. I put a. What are you drinking?
Sorry, Eddie. It's time for commercial.
I was going to count down to the pop can popping, but I waited till right in the middle of Eddie speaking to do it.
So I'm going to put a bar show together for a Friday night. I can't put one. So a touring band has reached out to me looking for a show for this particular night. Great, these guys are awesome.
Yeah.
I cannot put them on stage all by themselves.
Yeah.
Nobody here knows who they are. There's going to be nobody there. They're going to go backwards on the show.
Yeah.
So that being said, okay, I'm going to find a couple cool local bands that complement these guys, that they're going to bring out their friends and family to the show, so there's people there, all that sort of stuff. In doing that, we're thinning out the money that's available for everybody. So it's kind of like a. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, you guys are perfect examples of that. For those of you who don't know, a lot of times the opening bands come out, even though the deal is that they're getting a door cut. When the end of the night comes, I go to hand them money, say, no, that's the touring band. They're on the road. Give them the money. Yeah. And it's very, very common. You guys do it a lot. Most of the local bands will do that, which is really cool, but not necessarily the way it should be. So, but it's the nature of the beast right now.
Yeah.
So that being said, we just need to have. I can't stress it enough. You just need to encourage a friend. Get annoying about it. I know I get annoying about it when I'm talking to people. Come to this show. It's 2 or 3 hours of your time. surely you can round up $10 to come out to a show and spend a few hours and maybe make a new friend.
Yeah.
Maybe find your new favorite band.
You're not going to regret it. That's the thing too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people still be like, "Oh, a local band, right?" Like, you could hear your next favorite song. Like you said, there's the difference between a good local band around here and somebody that you would hear on the radio now, I guess.
They're better musicians.
The difference is about $1 million worth of promotion and stuff, right?
That's right. That's the difference.
Yeah.
They have the money to put it behind there to make things reach.
Yeah.
Where we don't.
And also like a giant production team that has a stage the size of, a quarter of a football field with like pyro, and every time the band stops a song, the lights go, and then the next song starts and it's once. Like they have all the, and people don't think about when they go see a local show and they're like, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel, it's like, well, no, because it's a small stage. The band barely has room to play. Like, the speakers are, it's a different beast. We're trying to get there. We need the support. So I was going to say one thing that's kind of very big right now in the food world is like buy local, like, sourcing local produce, sourcing local meat, people realizing the quality that comes from that. And the fact that when you're doing that, you're using your money in your own community, and it goes back to the community. I wish in some ways, like in the music world, if we have like a listen local, I know there's people who have said that, but it's like take your 10% of your diet and your musical diet and just dedicate that to going to see some bands locally. Not I would say you're not always going to find your favorite band, or you might come out of a show and say, okay, like that wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. That's also okay. Because what you've done is you've still supported the local music scene, and also don't like, you come out and you see Run the River, for example. We might not be your cup of tea, and you might go away saying like, I don't know if I want to go see that band again. Well, we're not playing every night. It's different. There's so many bands playing. Like, check out different.
Go
artists.
the next day. Go the next weekend and see something else.
Go see something else. Like because one, you're going to feel good because you're supporting the local music scene, and then who knows what will happen as far as like grow the money that can go behind something, and then all of a sudden the performances look better because the new stage at Officer Square is pretty great.
Yes, it is.
That's a really cool stage. So
cool.
That's a nice step forward.
It's a good thing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a good thing
like
for
a
the
permanent stage that's just like
I think it
high
is.
quality.
Yeah, it's covered now. There's built-in sound
That's
where they
nice.
didn't have that before. You were lugging in gear and setting up, and it may or may not rain and all that sort of stuff. So it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. It's a step in the right direction. And that's the thing. I guess it's like support can come from so many different places. It can come from the city itself saying we want to invest in the scene.
Well, that's a good thing too, because it's easy for us to be like, we got to support local, and I think honestly people are just so like, enough of that already. You know what I mean? I get that attitude as well. Like people are, well, we're broke, whatever. Yeah. What can the government do it too? I think we're pretty lucky with getting money put into the arts and stuff like that.
We're really lucky locally.
Locally, yeah.
Federally, provincially, maybe not so much. But
I really don't know.
Locally, we have a good city that does support that. I can say that they've helped me out on my festivals.
Nice.
To the point where things probably wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I can say that. The other thing I will say about that is you made a really good point, and I gotta process it in my head and how to spit.
I do that all the time.
No, how to spit something back out that sounds somewhat human.
It doesn't have to sound human.
We love aliens. We love it all,
we talked about the Officer Square stuff, and so they're putting on free performances down there, and really great acts, by the way.
Yes,
I should say, which is fantastic. There's a little bit of a struggle. Again, we're going to talk a little bit real, where people are going out, like they're doing shows, I think Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday there, and then the odd like special one on weekends and stuff like that, and they're offered to the community for free.
Yeah,
you go see a fantastic band for free, no charge, come and go, whatever it is. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm finding that translates into folks not going out into venues and paying a cover. I use the word that is devaluing the live music to a certain point where I can go see this fantastic band that's fairly established locally anyway for no charge. Am I going to go pay $10, $15 to go see this new
hard
band
to compete with
in there? So if you're not like a close friend or a family member of that band playing in the venue, am I going to go and drop that? I always say to people, pick whether it depends on your financial situation. Pick a show a week, pick a show a month that you don't know who's on the bill, and just take a chance.
Yeah.
Take a chance and go out and see that show. Yeah. And I know you guys do it, like especially when it comes to festivals. You look, okay, I don't know this. I can see these guys. These guys are local. I can see them all the time. I'm going to go see this new act and see what they're all about. And to me, when I go to a festival or I go somewhere's a venue, and I see so much music now that I purposely do not research bands that I don't know who they are. Because my favorite thing is to go see them live, and that's where I get my opinion.
I like that as well.
Of them from. Yeah, so I'll go in blind with it.
Yeah.
I know nothing but their name.
Yeah.
And I go in and check this out, and like you said, I may love it. It may not be my cup of tea. Usually I can respect it. I see what you're doing. It's just not necessarily my cup of tea, or I'm gonna book these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do make a point to get out. I host shows a lot of nights, but when I don't, especially if my wife's working that particular night, I say, okay, where am I going to go spend my money? Where am I going to go support tonight? I'm going to go out and see something. Yeah. And I do make a point to go out and do that. So that being said, any little bit of money that I do make from doing the music stuff, I can say that it's going right back into the scene, whether it's going to another show, venue, purchasing merch, all this stuff. Merch is another huge thing where you can support the bands directly.
Yeah.
Buy a t-shirt, buy their I have CDs. I don't even have a CD player.
Like, I know, I'm the same way, and vinyls too.
I still like CDs actually. Yeah.
So there's all kinds of ways that you can support that. So if again, knowing that not everybody has a whole pile of expendable money.
Yeah. Well, and even like likes and shares and things like that. For if you see a Living Roots or Roots and Soul event, take the time to, even if you can't go.
Yep. 100%.
Because like you're saying, Facebook tends to hide these things, so you kind of see it and you pass it by. But those likes and shares can get the algorithm kind of like going a little more, so people see it. So if you're listening and you see a Roots and Soul event, whether it's part of Living Roots or Jazz on Wolastoq,
any event,
yeah.
I don't care if it's a play, maybe it's a poetry event, which I'm into
Share
as well. I love spoken word too.
Yeah.
But that being said, secrets on that, just same as everybody else I am. You scroll down, you see something, you hit share quickly, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right? That does not reach near as many people as if you hit share and you write your own little comment in there.
Yeah.
And then share it.
Yeah.
That will reach more people.
Yeah.
Even better is
personalized, right?
Even better is if you can have your own picture of some sort. Maybe you could screenshot something and write a text in there and make your own post. That'll be even seen by even more people.
A decent quality like video clip or photo of a band can be like worth its weight in well, I guess not gold because it's not physical anything, but for a good friend of mine, Ollie, he's gotten into taking photos of bands when he goes to see them, and nice quality ones, and he gives tags them, sends it to him.
That's right. Everybody can use it.
And people have done it for us, like Jess. I forget Jess's last name right now.
Jess is awesome.
Yeah, and she did that for us. She's done it for a ton of other bands. Just take really nice pictures. And it's something you don't always want to do. You don't always be like, take pictures of me. Like, maybe that's not the way you are.
It's a big thing, man. If you have to hire somebody to do that stuff as a band too, again, that's a big cost.
Yeah, because you want to pay somebody what they deserve.
Yeah,
and
that's a big cost.
It's hard
to
do
that. Jesse Bush.
I was going to say Jesse Bush, Mackenzie Power.
Mackenzie, like these guys are doing it out there. Again, there are people in the scenes that are doing things for the greater good of the scene.
It helps a lot.
That's what I see that helps.
It helps a lot.
Is people doing that and kind of just love-based. They're doing it for the love. You know what I mean?
You know what? We don't talk about it enough because there's those guys, and they're not Ollie's a musician, but they're not in that. They don't have any, what I want to say, they don't have any investment. They don't have, they're not getting anything back from that other than supporting and feeling good about that.
Yeah.
Another great example of that is, we all know them, is like Ed and Marlene.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
They are at every show.
Supportive.
They buy all the merch.
Yeah.
Video, just off their phone, they're taking quality videos and photos and sharing it and write-ups.
Exactly. I had a nice video, I did a little video clip from them, and it's like, oh, that's great, because sometimes you go to apply for stuff, and they're like, please include some video. And I'm like, man, I got to get on that, right? It's stuff people are not always good at. And
it's stuff like that that doesn't cost people anything to support.
Yeah. Well, so I guess I chatted with someone recently about how sometimes with nonprofits, like people are like, I don't have the money to give to support a nonprofit, but like they can always use your time, volunteer time, your creative skills. So like if someone that's listening is like a painter, paint a picture auction it off and give the money to Living Roots. Donate it to like a festival. If you have a skill set, like we mentioned, these people, Jesse Bush, all these people who they take photos and do write-ups, and they're helping the scene so much by being there, and I think they get a lot out of it too. I think if you do something like that, you're going to find yourself, one, you get to hang out with someone like Eddie Young, which, like, come on.
It's just a great community. It's a good community.
It's a good community, and you're involved.
Looking for a community.
And then, like, someone like, I'm going to, like, say you should do this because you have an arts or skill, and go to Eddie and say, like, then he might find something for you where you're going to go, oh, my goodness, and suddenly you're going to go off in this direction, being a painter for festivals all across Canada. Who knows, right?
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
As you know, the festivals, I include like live painters at the
exactly.
bands.
Yeah, there was. I know someone who did that.
And that's how a lot of that comes about. Said, I need to work on my portfolio. I'd like to have somewhere to do that. You know what? Here's the schedule. Here's the venues. You show up and you paint where you want to, and I'll promote you as much as possible. You can sell your other work, whether you paint it at the festival or not.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. And what was I say? Skeeter. Skeeter's one that she does all the stuff. Josie, which is Bubblehead.
Bubblehead, yeah.
Comes in and does some fantastic painting, and they're both. So I'll have them both at festivals, but they're different. Each of them are different feels, which is really cool.
Well, it is. I mean, like there you go. Like it's coordinating in the way that you do music as well, but with different art forms, right? And they can all come together and support the scene in a way that, whatever it is that you're good at, like if you take even a small percentage of it and use it towards a cause, like something fun.
So I've done a lot of stuff, like especially on the tribute shows where we'll have a live painter. They'll paint at the show, and then we'll auction it off, and we'll do like a 50-50 split, like 50 to the festival, 50 to the artist. I mean, they're paying for their paint and their canvas and stuff like that. That helps.
Exposure, right?
Some of those tribute shows too have been massively successful.
Yeah.
Like just people love them, especially like we're doing this band. You'll get a ton of people out, which is awesome to see that. If we could translate that into local original stuff as well, that'd be great.
So I really one of the things about that I really like is that somebody that has no idea the individuals who are going to be on stage, but they love this band that they're covering tonight. I'm going to go to that show, and they see somebody on stage and they're like, oh my, they're such a good musician, or I've never heard this person sing like this before, and then maybe they'll pay attention and go out to one of their shows down the road. And if not, just generally that there's good stuff happening around, good entertainment that you can spend your evening with and drop a few dollars on. Yeah, that's a big part of it. And I've seen that too. And you start seeing these faces at the original shows that you weren't seeing. A month ago, you know what I mean? And he said, "Oh, they're peeking around." I said, "I'm paying attention to that stuff all the time. I walk, you'll see me. I'm scanning a room. I said, where's the new faces?" And a lot of times I'll go over to those new faces and say, "Hey, what brought you here? How'd you get here? How'd you find out about it?"
Yeah, that's a good way.
We need that feedback to see what's working as well.
Exactly. Right? So well, hey, if you're listening, watching, comment below if you're on YouTube and let us know what gets you out to a show. What makes you want to check out music, especially on the side of original music in your scene, because we know that like Fredericton is where we're from, if you're watching, but a lot of the cities have a similar vibe where it's like, there's the scene, there's people like Ed and Marlene who are like the best supporters, and they'll be at as many shows as if they could clone themselves and be at every single show they would. And which is amazing, but like, how do what's your idea out there, folks?
Let us know.
That would be huge to have that feedback.
Let us know
some ideas. Sure. What gets you excited? What gets you out to that new venue that you haven't been into
exactly
before?
Exactly. You're not going to believe this, but we're already at 56 minutes. Isn't that crazy?
I believe it.
How fast the time flies. I wanted to do this, and I don't even think we have time now, but I was going to say, usually with the artists, like the musicians who are here, we'll say, do you want to play a music video of yours or play a song? Okay.
There's any home videos from your childhood?
Can we play an Eddie Young home video? I'm going to throw in a video of Eddie just like from a show or something.
If you look really hard, there's probably some videos out there of the Zap or
that's true.
I mean, we could have done that, right?
No.
Okay. Well, it's just one of those things where I thought, well, hey, if you wanted,
you have to come out to see it.
There you go.
Is there any other bands that we should throw to?
Yeah.
Maybe we don't have time for that, but
we could do it on YouTube. Just on CHSR, we might not be able to.
Like a new song or video or something that's really got you. I mean, I know you don't want to pick.
Yeah,
I know. Okay, never mind. Eddie loves
Let's
everyone
make
too
one
much.
up.
I can't.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I wouldn't put that on you.
Well,
I tried, but I won't.
let's do this then. What should people be looking for from you? How can they support you? What's the best? Where are you on social media? What are the links?
So the biggest thing is not so much, direct support, but to find out what's going on. Again, I do a lot of stuff on Facebook, so Roots and Soul Music Promotions on Facebook, and you'll see in the descriptions there's some links. And I recently created a link tree, and it's very easily laid out to all the things that I do. It has my booking roster, has event lineup, where to buy tickets, whole bunch of stuff. I think there's a local Spotify, or no, not a local Spotify list. It's a Spotify playlist of like artists that I work with regularly, things like that. That being said, there is local Spotify lists too.
Yeah,
So if you look up Fredericton and stuff on Spotify, you can find some different things on there. That sort of stuff.
Great.
Yeah, we want to do a playlist eventually for the show, including
Yes, we're gonna have to.
You're getting there now, right?
And Ollie, a friend of mine and bandmate, he did a playlist, a Honey Gut playlist, which has a bunch of bands that we've played with. You're on it, Kylie, different people.
Right on.
So there's a lot of great, Fredericton bands on that as well.
There
if you
is.
happen to-
There's tons of them.
Yeah.
You could listen to nothing else but local bands.
It's true.
and
It's mind blowing.
not be
Honestly.
bored.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably wrap it up because
Yeah.
we're being good and we're keeping it right in the time that we're supposed to do.
Awesome.
Well, I'm proud of us, guys. We did it. So there'll be links below if you're on YouTube. Check them out because you're going to be able to find out some stuff. And check out some of our check out some of the other videos. Subscribe, like, check our others. Just thanks for checking us out. Thanks for being here, Eddie Young.
Yeah, thanks, man.
We appreciate you, everything you do.
Go see live music.
Go see live music.
There it
Love you
is.
guys.
Love you too, man.
We
Okay.
love all yous.
Love our audience. Just love to everyone. Spread the love, everyone. It doesn't cost you money to just be kind and all the
Be kind.
goodies. All right, we'll see you on the next one. This has been Show Us Your Insides. I'm Joel.
I'm Joshua.